Today, we are diving deep into the three-domain system of classification. As the name suggests, this system divides all organisms into three distinct domains: domain bacteria, domain archaea, and domain Eukarya. Before going into the details, let's discuss what a domain actually is. A domain is the highest taxonomic rank, or taxon, that scientists use to classify living organisms. These domains are further divided into kingdoms, phyla, classes, and so on down the line. Originally proposed by microbiologist Carl Woese and his colleagues in 1990, the three-domain system is currently the most widely accepted classification framework in the scientific community. So, how did the 5 kingdoms become 3 domains? In 1990, Carl Woese looked past the microscope and into the DNA. He discovered that the organisms in Kingdom Monera were so different at a genetic level that they couldn't stay in the same group. So he took Kingdom Monera and split it wide open into 2 separate domains: domain bacteria and domain archaea. But what about the rest? Well, because protists, fungi, plants, and animals all share that complex, eukaryotic cell structure with a proper nucleus, Woese placed all 4 of those kingdoms into one single, giant domain called Eukarya. This change showed us that even though a plant and an animal look nothing alike, at a cellular level, they are much closer to each other than an archaebacteria is to a regular eubacteria. Let's zoom in on the most mysterious group of all, domain archaea. These are the most ancient organisms on our planet, evolutionary pioneers that have stayed virtually unchanged for billions of years. What makes them different? It's all in their code. Carl Woese discovered that their ribosomal RNA is unique. It's not like bacteria, and it's not like us. This molecular signature tells us that archaea are a completely independent line of life. Because of their unique chemical structure and armored cell membranes, archaea are the ultimate survivors. We call them extremophiles. You'll find them in boiling volcanic vents, in the freezing depths of the ocean, and in water so salty that it would kill any other living cell. They don't just survive in these places, they thrive there. By understanding archaea, we aren't just looking at a different domain, we are looking back in time at the very beginnings of life on Earth. Finally, let's look at domain bacteria. These are the true bacteria, the most widespread organisms on the planet. You can find them everywhere, from the keyboard you're using to the very air you breathe. What makes them different from archaea? One major factor is their cell wall. Bacterial cells are wrapped in a unique material called peptidoglycan. This acts like a protective mesh, and it's actually what many antibiotics target to stop infections. Even though they have 16 srRNA just like archaea, their genetic sentences are strictly bacterial. Their machinery for reading DNA is simpler, using only one type of RNA polymerase. This specific genetic signature is what helps us identify them in a lab. While some bacteria cause illness, most are helpful. They recycle nutrients, produce oxygen, and even help us digest our food. They are the invisible engineers of our world. While bacteria and archaea both look like simple prokaryotes, these are exact reasons why Kingdom Monera had to be split into 2 separate domains. Finally, we have domain Eukarya, which acts as a massive umbrella for the remaining 4 kingdoms: Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Despite their massive differences on the outside, all 4 groups were placed into this single domain because they share a complex eukaryotic cell structure, meaning they all possess a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Let's discuss these kingdoms one by one. So, the first kingdom is the kingdom Protista. This kingdom is often described as the taxonomic biological drawer because it includes eukaryotic organisms that don't quite fit into the Fungi, Plantae, or Animalia kingdoms. Protists are a diverse group of primarily unicellular, eukaryotic organisms. They represent a significant evolutionary step because they are the first organisms to possess a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Unlike the monerans we just saw, protists have complex cells with a defined nucleus and membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria. Most protists are unicellular, meaning they exist as a single cell. However, some can form colonies, and others, like the giant kelp you see in the ocean, are actually multicellular. You will find these organisms primarily in aquatic environments, ranging from freshwater ponds and vast oceans to damp, moist soil. Protists are famous for their unique ways of getting around. Many use specialized structures to move. Cilia, which are tiny, rhythmic short hairs. Flagella, which act like long, powerful whips. Pseudopodia, or false feet, which are used by organisms like the amoeba to literally crawl across surfaces. Their survival strategies are extremely varied. Some are autotrophic, using photosynthesis to make their own food just like plants. Others are heterotrophic, acting as tiny hunters that ingest food, while some live as parasites. When it comes to making more of themselves, protists can reproduce asexually through simple cell division, or sexually through cell fusion and zygote formation. From the oxygen-producing algae to the predatory protozoa, kingdom Protista represents a massive leap in biological complexity. Next up is kingdom Fungi. For a long time, these were grouped with plants, but Whitaker realized they belong in a category of their own. From the mushrooms in your garden to the yeast used in bread, fungi are the master decomposers of our planet. Fungi are eukaryotes with cell walls made of a tough material called chitin. While yeast is unicellular, most fungi are multicellular, growing in a network of thread-like filaments called hyphae. Together, these threads form a mass known as a mycelium. But the most fascinating thing about fungi is how they eat. They are absorptive heterotrophs. They don't have stomachs. Instead, they perform extracellular digestion. They release powerful enzymes into their surroundings to break down complex matter into simple nutrients, which they then absorb through their cell walls. Most are saprophytes, feeding on dead matter and cleaning up our ecosystems. Others are parasites, living off a host, while some are symbionts, forming helpful partnerships with plants and algae. Without fungi, the earth would be covered in dead debris. They are the ultimate recyclers. The next kingdom in our series is kingdom Plantae. This kingdom includes all the green plants that cover our mountains, forests, and gardens. These are multicellular eukaryotes that serve as the primary producers for almost every ecosystem on Earth. Being eukaryotic means their cells are highly organized. Each cell contains a proper nucleus, safely guarded by a double membrane. But the complexity doesn't stop there. Plants are filled with membrane-bound organelles. You'll find mitochondria acting as the cell's powerhouse, specialized chloroplasts that act as solar panels to capture energy, and many other organelles. Plants are multicellular organisms with specialized tissues and organs, like roots, stems, and leaves. To support this large body, every plant cell is surrounded by a rigid cell wall made of cellulose. This is what gives plants their strength and allows them to grow toward the sky. Because of those chloroplasts we mentioned, plants are autotrophic. They manufacture their own food through photosynthesis, turning sunlight into life-sustaining energy. While they are generally stationary and stay rooted in one place, their life cycles are quite dynamic. They reproduce both sexually and asexually, often moving through a process called alternation of generations. From providing the oxygen we breathe to the food we eat, the eukaryotic complexity of kingdom Plantae is what makes life on land possible. The final and most diverse kingdom is kingdom Animalia. This group includes everything from the smallest insects to the giant blue whale. Like the other kingdoms we've explored, animals are eukaryotic. This means their cells contain a proper nucleus protected by a double membrane, along with complex membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria. One of the most significant differences between animals and other eukaryotes is that animal cells lack a cell wall. This absence of a rigid outer layer is exactly what allows animals to develop flexible bodies and complex muscles. Their body organization is highly advanced. Animals are multicellular organisms with high levels of tissue differentiation, forming specialized organ systems like the respiratory, circulatory, and nervous systems. Because of this flexible structure, most animals are motile, meaning they can move independently at some stage of their life. But what truly sets them apart is their response to stimuli. Animals possess a specialized sensory neuromotor system. This allows them to process information from their environment, like sight, sound, or touch, and react with incredible speed and coordination. When it comes to energy, animals are ingestive heterotrophs. Unlike plants, they cannot make their own food. They must find, capture, and ingest other organisms to survive. This need for food has driven the evolution of the diverse behaviors and complex brains we see across the animal kingdom today. From the depths of the ocean to the highest mountains, Kingdom Animalia showcases the peak of biological movement, sensation, and structural complexity. If you've found this helpful so far, don't forget to check out my video on binomial nomenclature. I've broken it down in the easiest way possible to help you master scientific naming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over in that video.